Did you know that 9mm you just bought might be the very gun that fails you when you need it the most? Every year, Americans pour hard-earned cash into pistols with flashy names and loyal fan bases, only to find out they jam, misfire, or age like bad milk. You think yours is different? You still doubt me? Stay tuned, because we're breaking down the 10 most useless 9mm pistols Americans waste money on in 2025. Starting with the one police forces themselves abandoned after reliability failures kept piling up. Number 10, the Taurus PT92. On paper, the PT92 looks like a budget way to get into the Beretta 92 world. Stainless steel, double-stacked magazines, and a military-inspired frame at half the price of its Italian cousin. Walk into a gun store with $600 and it seems like a no-brainer. The problem, quality control, has always been Taurus's Achilles heel, and the PT92 shows it more than most. Triggers vary widely between individual pistols, some breaking crisp while others feel like dragging a rusty chain. Slide-to-frame fit is inconsistent, leading to accuracy gaps and that would frustrate anyone expecting duty-grade performance. Magazine reliability is another gamble, with feeding issues so common that many owners carry aftermarket mags just to keep the gun running. And while Taurus advertises rugged durability, small parts like extractor springs wear out long before they should, leaving you with stoppages at the worst times. Even the Brazilian police, who once carried these sidearms, have steadily phased them out in favor of more modern, reliable platforms. The resale market tells the same story. You'll take a hit the second you walk out of the store because seasoned shooters know better. Price usually around $500 to $600. Spend $50 more and you get a Glock 19 or CZ-P10C that will outlast and outperform the PT92 every single time. Speaking of false bargains, wait until you see what happens with number 9, a so-called budget pistol that promised concealability, but ended up notorious for more problems than solutions. Number 9, the Luger P08. The name alone sparks images of World War II, German officers, and a piece of history that commands respect. Owning one feels like holding a relic of power until you realize trying to use it in 2025 is a nightmare. The toggle lock action might look cool in movies, but in real life it's one of the most finicky systems ever designed. Dirt, carbon, or even slightly weak ammunition can turn that legendary pistol into a single-shot curiosity. Collectors love to brag about the craftsmanship, but the truth is this design is over 120 years old, spare parts are scarce and expensive, and every shot you fire risks wearing down something that can't easily be replaced. Accuracy is inconsistent, and the ergonomics feel like they were designed for a completely different era. Trying to run a Luger against modern pistols at the range, and you'll be clearing jams while everyone else is punching tight groups on target. And here's the kicker. People are still spending thousands to carry or shoot one, convinced that history makes up for the shortcomings. In the reality, P08 is better suited for a display case than a holster. The past might be glorious, but the performance is pure disappointment. Price anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 depending on condition. At that point, you could buy 2 or 3 brand new pistols that will run circles around it. If you think nostalgia is bad, wait until you see pistol number 8, a military-issue sidearm that became infamous for frustrating the very soldiers it was meant to protect. Number 8, the Beretta M9. For decades, this pistol carried the badge of America's standard-issue sidearm. Hollywood showed it off, the military carried it, and civilians bought it, believing they were getting combat-proven reliability. The reality? Ask any veteran who used one, and you'll hear the same complaints. Poor ergonomics, slide-mounted safeties that are awkward under stress, and a trigger pull that feels more like a chore than precision. The design itself is heavy, tipping the scales at over 2 pounds unloaded, yet it still offers only 15 rounds. Worse, the open slide design that was supposed to improve reliability also exposed the action to dirt and grit, leading to malfunctions in harsh conditions. Many service members had to deal with cracked locking blocks or weak springs at exactly the wrong time. It's no wonder the U.S. military phased it out for the Sig M17, leaving the M9 to collectors and nostalgic buyers. But civilians in 2025 still pour money into surplus models, thinking they're scoring a piece of military history that doubles as a defensive weapon. What they really get is a clunky, outdated pistol that needs aftermarket fixes just to keep up with mid-tier modern handguns. Price usually around $550 to $700. That money is better spent on a newer Beretta APX or even a budget Glock that actually delivers what it promises. If you thought the M9 was disappointing, our next gun will surprise you because it was once considered cutting edge but is now a discontinued relic. That tricks buyers with nostalgia. Number 7. The Walther P99. At its launch in the late 1990s, the P99 looked like the future. Sleek, German styling, innovative striker-fire tech, and even a cameo in James Bond films made it one of the coolest pistols money could buy. But fast forward to 2025, and that futuristic edge has aged into obsolescence. Walther themselves officially discontinued the P29 in 2023, and that alone should tell you something. When even the manufacturer retires a design, you know it's not the best place to put your cash. The trigger system was marketed as revolutionary, offering multiple modes of operation. In practice, it confused shooters more than it helped. The ergonomics were decent for their time, but modern pistols now offer interchangeable backstraps, optic-ready slides, and superior grip texturing as standard. Meanwhile, P99 owners are stuck with a gun that feels clunky and outdated against today's modern competition. Parts availability is already drying up and magazines are climbing in price. Buyers who think they're getting a piece of history for everyday carry are in for a rude awakening when they realize upkeep costs more than a pistol itself. Collectors may enjoy it, but anyone who wants a reliable, defensive pistol is better off with Walther's own PDP, which fixes every flaw the P99 carried into the modern era. Price around $500 to $650 if you can even find one new old stock. For that same price, you could pick up a modern, optics-ready handgun with a better trigger and endless aftermarket support. Now, if you think that's bad, wait until you see our next gun, a so-called budget-friendly pistol that Ruger hyped up as a do-it-all solution, but which ended up feeling more like a throwback than a step forward. Number 6. The Ruger Security 9. Ruger wanted this pistol to be the everyman's affordable sidearm. Lightweight, mid-sized, hammer-fired, and priced to undercut Glock by a mile. On paper, it looked like the perfect carry option for budget-conscious buyers. But here's the catch. Cheap often comes with compromises you only notice once the honeymoon ends. The Security 9 ditches the striker-fired systems that dominate the modern market and instead hides an internal hammer. That design feels dated and gives the trigger a strange, inconsistent break that frustrates shooters looking for a crisp pull. Controls are bare bones with no ambidextrous safety or slide release, and the grip texture is so mild that sweaty hands or wet conditions turn it into a slippery mess. Reliability is generally fine with ball ammo, but the moment you switch to certain hollow points, feed ramp geometry becomes a problem, and jams aren't uncommon. Even Ruger fans admit the Security 9 feels like a stopgap product rather than the real contender. Holster compatibility is limited, aftermarket parts are scarce, and the pistol's long-term durability doesn't inspire much confidence. It works, yes, but works isn't enough in 2025 when better designed, equally affordable pistols exist. Price around $350 to $400. For just a little more, you could grab a Canik or even Ruger's own American pistol with far better build quality. The Security 9 might feel underwhelming, but it's nothing compared to the disaster waiting at number 5, a pistol infamous for its history of overpromising and under-delivering. Number 5, the Rogak P-18. This pistol should have been revolutionary, an American-made spin on the Austrian Steyr GB. It promised an 18-round capacity at a time when most pistols were still stuck at 15. It looked futuristic, it sounded impressive, and gun magazines in the late 70s hyped it as the next big thing. What buyers actually got was one of the worst execution jobs in handgun history. The Rogak P-18 quickly earned its nickname Polished Junk. Corners were cut during production. Quality control was nearly non-existent, and reliability was abysmal. Feeding failures, misfires, and slide problems plagued the guns so badly that many owners simply gave up trying to make them run. Even today, shooters describe it as a gun that manages to look like a collector's piece but functions like a broken prototype. Steyr salvaged the concept with their own GB, which at least performed decently, but the Rogak's reputation never recovered. Collectors may still pay attention to the odd example floating around, but carrying or shooting one in 2025 is a little more than a bad joke. You're better off framing it on the wall than trusting it in a holster. Price usually $1,000 and up because of rarity. The sad truth is you're paying that money for a story, not a firearm that can stand alongside modern pistols. The Rogak promised innovation and delivered disappointment. But number 4 is even worse, an overstated classic that fanboys defend endlessly, while modern shooters are left shaking their heads. Number 4, the ideal Conceal 9mm. This is the gun that looked like a smartphone when folded shut. And that was the entire sales pitch. A pistol disguised as a phone sounded innovative to some buyers, but in reality it was a gimmick that solved no real problem while creating plenty of new ones. Law enforcement agencies immediately raised concerns that officers might mistake it for an actual phone in a high-stress encounter. Critics pointed out that it put both owners and bystanders at risk. The folding design felt flimsy from the start. Deploying it under pressure was slow and awkward compared to any standard carry pistol. Ammunition compatibility was inconsistent. The trigger felt clunky, and the overall ergonomics were terrible. Rather than becoming the future of concealed carry, it became the punchline of safety debates across the country. Production eventually stopped, but a few models still circulate on the used market in 2025. They're expensive for what amounts to a novelty item, and anyone buying one for defense is making a costly mistake. The fact that the ATF had to clarify its classification speaks volumes about how confusing and impractical the design truly was. Price often over $600 on resale, which is money wasted when countless proven compact pistols can be had for less. Number 3, the Sig Sauer P320. The Sig Sauer, few pistols in recent history have sparked as much debate as the P320. It was adopted by the U.S. military, praised for its modular design, and sold in huge numbers to civilians across the country. On the surface, it looks like a success story. Dig deeper, and you'll find one of the most controversial handguns still on the market in 2025. The biggest issue, reports of the gun firing without the trigger ever being pulled. Videos of drop tests surfaced in 2017, showing the P320s discharging when they hit the ground at certain angles. Police departments like Dallas suspended its use, and lawsuits piled up from owners claiming accidental discharges caused injuries. Sig introduced voluntary upgrades, but the shadow never fully went away. Even today, agencies and competitions have banned it outright over safety concerns. Beyond that, the trigger is mushy compared to its competitors, the grip module feels blocky, and the aftermarket support is flooded with fixes that owners pay extra to make it safe and functional. What was marketed as modular innovation often ends up being extra steps just to keep the gun usable. Price around $600. For the same money, you could buy a Glock, a CZ, or a Walther PDP, all of which come without the baggage. The P320 might still be popular, but popularity doesn't erase flaws. Which brings us to number 2, a German import that commands a premium price tag while delivering a shooting experience that feels stuck in the last century. Number 2, the Walther P99. When the P99 launched in the late 1990s, it looked like a glimpse of the future. A polymer frame, striker-fired system, and sleek lines made it stand out in a market still dominated by heavier metal pistols. It even earned pop culture fame as James Bond's sidearm. But in 2025, the shine is gone. Walther officially discontinued the P99 in 2023, marking the end of its run. That should tell buyers everything they need to know. A company doesn't retire a platform that's still competitive. The anti-stress trigger system, marketed as revolutionary, ended up confusing more shooters than it helped. It required learning multiple trigger modes that slowed down performance instead of making it smoother. The grip, once considered ergonomic, now feels bulky compared to modern pistols with modular backstraps and aggressive textures. Spare parts are drying up fast, and magazines are getting expensive. Anyone who buys one today is paying for nostalgia, not practicality. For the same $500 to $650 you'll spend on a Walther P39, Walther's PDP gives you an optics-ready slide, better ergonomics, and a cleaner trigger. All the things the P99 can't deliver anymore. The truth is, the P99 belongs in a display case for collectors, not in the holsters of people who need reliability and support in 2025. That leaves us with the number 1, a pistol surrounded by loyalty, controversy, and endless debate, the kind of gun that divides the firearm world like no other. Number 1, the Hi-Point C9. This is the budget 9mm that refuses to die. Walk into almost any gun shop in America and you'll see it sitting in the case with a price tag under $200, practically daring first-time buyers to take it home. For decades, the C9 has been marketed as the working man's pistol, cheap, simple, and accessible. But the reality is very different. The blowback design makes the slide ridiculously heavy for such a small gun, turning recoil into a snappy, uncomfortable mess. The trigger feels gritty, the ergonomics are awkward, and the overall profile looks and handles more like a brick than a firearm. Field stripping is another headache entirely. It requires tools and patience, two things you don't want to depend on when maintenance should be quick and simple. Reliability is hit or miss. Some examples run decently, but others jam constantly or fail to feed hollow points. Even if you get one that works, the bulk and awkward balance make it a poor choice for carry. Sure, Hi-Point touts their lifetime warranty as a selling point, but relying on constant repairs isn't what you want in a defensive weapon. Price, usually $175 to $200. Yes, it's cheap, but it's the definition of you get what you pay for. Save up just a little more and you'll find countless pistols that offer real-world performance without the headaches. The Hi-Point C9 has earned its spot at the top of this list because it's the most tempting trap for new buyers. And in 2025, too many Americans are still falling for it. Thank you for watching, and please check out our next video where we reveal the 20 pistols that are climbing in value in 2025.